Well, I'm thankful for my family. I'm thankful for my family. I'm thankful for this football team, these players. I really am. I really, I can't tell you enough how much I enjoy coaching these guys. I wish that some of these games had gone our way, but they didn't, and it is what it is. But I'm very thankful to be able to come in here every day and coach these guys. I really am. I'm thankful for that. I just made some good friends here in Penn State, in State College. I'm thankful for that, but mostly it's the fact that I'm thankful for my family and the guys that I coach.
Hey Bill, I've been asking a few of the players about why they might not choose to wear sleeves under their jerseys when it's really cold outside. Right. And they say it's they don't want to look weak, like a power type of thing. Do you just as a staff just tell them do whatever feels comfortable, or do you guys even look
No, we don't. No, if they choose to go sleeveless or they choose to wear sleeves, some of the best players I've ever seen were bundled up, quite a bit. I don't know if you saw the Patriot game the other night, but it was freezing cold, and Tom Brady was, pretty bundled up there with the deal in his sleeve, but I thought he, obviously played pretty well in the game. So, no, I don't get into that with our players. Whatever's comfortable, as long as it's issued from Spider's room, that's all I care about.
Now, at Brown, did you wear sleeves when it was cold?
What do you think?
I'd say no. I mean, that's what I guess.
You'll have to go research that. Now, our season was over middle of November. I think it was Dartmouth and Columbia was the last game of the season.
Bill, you said last week, a couple weeks ago, that you may look at some personnel on the kickoff coverage squad, and then you didn't. I think you said you weren't going to change it. Can you outline that, or are there some other guys that you may begin to look at?
What we did is we went back. I did say that. I just wanted to go back and look and see if we could make some improvements, maybe by looking at the personnel there. But I think what happens right now is you've got to make a decision on whether to put a starter on that team, or go with a backup player and try to coach them better, put them in better spots to make those plays. So that's what we're doing. We're going to stick with what we're doing there personnel-wise. We won't make many changes there. I think maybe one or two changes, maybe. We'll see how it goes today. We worked that today, today and Thursday. We'll see how it goes. So, no, I don't see any major changes personnel-wise on those special teams.
And also, without giving away any huge secrets, going into November when some teams would have bowls, they might look at some personnel reevaluation or moving guys around. What will be some of your off-season priorities relative to things like that?
Yeah, no, we'll, we right away when the Wisconsin game's over, we'll meet as a staff on Sunday, and then we'll head out on the road recruiting. So, what I think is important is that certain decisions you have to make right after the season, depending on what those decisions are. But then other decisions, kind of like the ones you're talking about, you can sit on a little bit and evaluate and think about and not rush into those decisions, whether it's moving a guy's position or a recruiting decision or whatever it might be. But there are certainly some of those decisions that need to be made, and we'll look at that pretty closely. But I'm certainly not ready to talk about it right now. But some of those things will definitely be made at some point in time before spring practice starts. That's for sure.
Kind of going off that, Ty Howell plays last game Saturday. Can you evaluate the two guys behind him, Wendy Laura and Angelo Mangiro? I know it's kind of a competition there as far as who takes over for next year.
Yeah, there'll be a competition there. Angelo also plays guard, so he could play guard for us next year. Wendy's pretty much a center only, and I think Wendy's really improved. Angelo's improved. I think that both these guys have gotten better. Now, we haven't gotten them into games. We've kind of stuck with those five, with the addition of Gilliam and things like that, and Shrive as an extra tackle. But, those seven guys basically we've played. I think that, it'll be a big off season for both Wendy and Angelo. It'll be a big off season to get stronger, get more knowledgeable about the offense, have a good spring practice. But we think that both those guys can be good players for us.
Bill, you mentioned that Patriots game the other night. You coached a lot of games in Foxborough in January and December. when it's cold like that, as was this, last Saturday, maybe this Saturday, does it affect the game planning at all? And have you ever had games where maybe it didn't affect your preparation, but once the game started, you had to make adjustments on the fly due to the weather?
Yeah, the weather, you always have to take the weather into account, especially this time of the year. If it starts snowing like it did the other night here, it was snowing pretty good. I mean, it was a squall, but I mean, it was snowing and there was visibility issues. You've got to be careful about throwing the ball outside of the numbers. You want to kind of throw the ball inside the numbers, and different types of throws are important in snow squalls. When it's really cold, you've got to do a good job of making sure that the ball, the footballs that you're using are staying relatively warm and things like that, because those things can be like rocks. And then when you add the wind in, then it's important that you have your quarterback understand how important it is to throw a spiral, or how it affects the kicking game, the punting game. Whether to go for it or whether to punt, or a field goal. Whether to kick the field goal or go for it. So that's kind of the decision at the end of the game there that we made against Nebraska. Was we decided to punt to try to pin them back and see if we could hold them and then make them punt, which I thought would be into the wind. The wind was kind of swirling, and maybe give us good field position to drive the ball to try to win the game. That was the decision there. So, then we got the pass interference call there, and they got out of jail there. But, so yeah, the weather has a big effect on your game strategy decisions, no doubt about it.
Bill, C.J. Lanian earlier today said that the birth of his daughter in April has been a big motivating factor for him. I'm just curious if you can kind of see that urgency when you guys came back in camp this summer. Could you see that urgency there from him that he really wanted to improve based on kind of that, having that daughter?
I think that's probably more of a question for him, Travis. I think that certainly, being a father, definitely, obviously the responsibility of being a dad is a big deal. And I think that probably CJ felt that. He and I had a couple conversations about that. And I don't know if that was the exact time that he started really coming on as a player, but, he did. He played a lot better for us this year than he did last year. And, I'm sure that has something to do with it, his daughter, but that's more something for him to answer than me.
Bill, Vegas has pegged you guys as 23-point underdogs, which doesn't happen too often. I'm just curious if that's something you're aware of, and if that's something that maybe you use as bulletin board material to try to get guys motivated.
No, I mean I wasn't aware of that. I'm aware that we're probably an underdog. I mean, we're 6-5 and they're 9-2, but I didn't know it was a 20-point underdog. No, that wouldn't be. Now, if somebody from Wisconsin came out and said we're going to beat these guys by 24 points, then maybe we would use that, but certainly not Vegas.
Bill, you talked about the dirty show stuff a little bit earlier and the importance of it and how it's been a bright spot this year. Two guys we haven't seen, but you've mentioned a couple times, Andrew Nelson and Tanner Hartman. Where do you kind of see them fitting in and going into the offseason? What do you hope they can improve?
Yeah, I think that both these guys can factor in next year. I really believe that. I think that they can, now they have to go do it, they have to go earn it, and they have to keep improving. But, and there's another guy on that freshman offensive line class named Brendan Mann, who's really an improved player also. So I think that all three of those guys, then you flip it over to the defensive side of the ball, and you have three guys there that we feel really good about, that we think can factor in as redshirt freshmen: Garrett Sickles, Parker Cawthorn, and Curtis Cawthorn. Now, all six of these guys have to go out there and do it. They have to earn it and do it. And so don't peg them in there yet on the depth chart as number one, but they will certainly be given an opportunity to show their stuff in the spring, no doubt about it, and see what they do coming into training camp.
Coach, you've had obviously a lot of experience in the NFL. As the season is coming to an end, how do you help these players with, what does your insight do to help benefit these players as they look to take their career to the next level?
Well, the first thing is, that's a good question. One of the things that I do, I think that I have knowledge of, not that I'm unique in this, I think a lot of coaches have this, but one of the things I learned in the NFL was I watched these guys as the season progressed, how they took care of their bodies, like how they, the proper nutrition, or maybe a massage or an extra treatment, so that's one thing I advise them on. As far as the NFL, I always, I have an open door policy. We've had a lot of NFL scouts in here this year, and I have an open door policy with the players, and you know, every once in a while I say, look, if you're, towards the end of the year, if you're thinking about that, come see me, let's sit down, let's talk about it, I'll tell you how the process works. If you're an underclassman, you can submit your name to the advisory board. If you're a guy that's, your eligibility's over, here's what I think, you know, here's how I see you, here's the positions that I see you being able to play, here's probably how they view you right now, and I just try to talk to them, and I always encourage them if they think they can do it, to do it. I would never be one to sit there and say, no, you can't do it, don't do it, you know, in your life. I don't think that's my position to do that. If they really have their heart set on doing it, I'll tell them my honest opinion and encourage them to pursue it. So that's kind of how I do it.
Hey, Bill, Wisconsin's been pretty stout on
Yeah.
the defensive side, and the guys like Borland and stuff there. Can you kind of give, break them down a little bit?
Yeah, sure. They're very stout. I think there's been 6 games where they haven't given up a touchdown, I think. But they play a 3-4 look, which is tough, you know, and they have 2 good outside backers that set the edge real well. And then Borland, another guy on the inside. There's actually 3 guys that play inside linebacker, with Borland being a guy that plays in there all the time. Borland's a really good player. He's about 6 foot tall, 240-pound kid. He's stout, he's tough, he's smart. He's what you're looking for in a linebacker, and a lot like our guy, Glenn Carson, you know, just a tough dude. And so then they have, what I think is good about them too,